Good evening and welcome, everyone. My co-host Gloria might be having some network connection issues. So I will just host us from the start, and hopefully she'll join us as soon as she can. It's so incredible to see all your beautiful faces. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Lisa Pantani. I'm a storytelling coach and a facilitator, and it's been a privilege to guide these storytellers that you're about to hear over the past few weeks as they prepared the stories that you'll hear tonight. So what can you expect for the next 90 minutes? Well, we'll hear 4 powerful stories. 1 from our founder, 2 from mentors, and 1 from a mentee, plus a special message from our executive director. These are stories of transformation, resilience, and impact from our global Sojourns Giving Circle community. We are in for a truly special evening. So just to let you know that with many of us joining across continents, we just like to take a moment to make sure the call goes smoothly and highlight a few housekeeping points. Wendy will put some in the chat. So just please mute yourself to avoid the background noise. And you're welcome to keep your camera on or off. Our storytellers will attempt to keep their cameras on, but they may not be able to, as you saw with Gloria, due to network issues. After each story is finished, you will be able to write your comments and words of affirmation in the chat. So just wait until the story is finished, and then you can give your hoorays to the storytellers. We will have an opportunity for a Q&A near the end of the call. And just so you know, the donation button will be live throughout the event and after. So feel free to let the stories move you to donate. Just want to see if Gloria's back. See her.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry for that. My network was down. Hope everyone is going to enjoy this moment. Thank you so much for joining us for this special Thanksgiving Tuesday supported by Global Sojourn Giving Circle. My name is Gloria Mubita. I'm a mentor from Zambia supported by GSGC. I have been heading up the Believe Girls Foundation for over 10 years now. I'm also podcast host, hopefully praying so that most of you have listened to our episodes. They're interesting, and I'm delighted, honored to host this special event with Lisa Pantani. So thank you so much, and we have a few housekeeping rules. Please, as Priscilla said,
Gloria, I've done the housekeeping already. Thank you. No problem.
Thank you so much, Lisa. So at this moment, let us sit back, relax, and just enjoy the stories that are coming out from our storytellers.
So it's no small feat to take a slice of one's life and shape it into a 10-minute story. This process requires vulnerability, reflection, and immense courage. Our storytellers have poured their hearts into this. So as you listen, I invite everyone here tonight to engage with these stories in a different way, opening your hearts, not just your heads. This is an opportunity to practice that deep listening that we all long for, allowing the stories to touch you in unexpected ways and connect us all on a more human level. So please take a moment and settle into your heart space. And let's celebrate the power of storytelling and the remarkable individuals who bring these stories to life. We will start by hearing from GSGC's founder, Priscilla Plummer. Priscilla has a story about the heart of GSGC and the inception of this amazing network of mentors and supporters. Her journey and vision are what bring us all together tonight. Priscilla, over to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, good evening. Thank you so much for being here. So I was born and raised in the United States. My early career was spent helping small and startup businesses. I'm entrepreneurial at heart, and I love helping people make their dreams come true. I worked and lived in fast-paced cities such as New York and San Francisco, and I was constantly on the go, always with an eye on productivity. I then had the blessing to become the publisher of Women's Sports and Fitness magazine, started by Billie Jean King. And this was a pivotal time in my life. I had come of age in the 1970s, right in the height of the women's movement. We had all these new rights. I thought I could do anything a boy could do, and the sky was the limit. But by working for the magazine and hearing the stories of the Billie Jean Kings and others not even that much older than I was and their struggles, I really came to be aware of how much others had done to help me have the pathway, a much wider pathway than they had had. So I thought, how could I pay this forward? How could I help others as others had helped me? And at that time, I was becoming real aware of the gender and income disparities around the world. And I thought, maybe I could help female entrepreneurs in developing countries. So I quit my job and I got on a plane and I landed in Africa. As I touched down, I had tears in my eyes. I knew I had come home and I was on my new journey. So 2 years later, and then I went back to the United States and I enrolled in graduate school. I studied international development with a focus on women. I then found myself in Mozambique a couple years later. I was so excited. I would be there for 3 years and I finally had time to get productive. I had envisioned being able to train entrepreneurs, being able to help them find microloans, open markets. I couldn't wait to get going. And then I arrived and reality was much different. I was going to be living in a place for 3 years where it was all about subsistence, farming, and survival. I had no skill to offer. I didn't know what I was going to do for those next 3 years. I had all this energy and these good intentions, and what was I going to do? I knew nothing about this life. I bounced off walls, and it was really hard for a while. But thank goodness this happened. Thank goodness I didn't dive into training and a project and productivity, because I got the gift of being able to see life from a different perspective. I slowed down, I participated, and I got to get a glimpse of what it was really like to live at that level of poverty and as a woman. And what I learned from here became the foundation of the Giving Circle. Now, I was in Mozambique with someone who was running a USAID water project. It was a traditional aid project, 3 years, focused on infrastructure, and the plan was developed in Washington, D.C. The goal was to have 100 wells and pumps at the end of 3 years. And early on, a Harvard professor came out to do the community buy-in. He was there for about 10 days. He'd go to the villages. He got the men to agree to dig the wells, and then USAID would provide the pumps. He flew back to Boston, typed up his report, sent that to Washington, D.C., made it way back to Mozambique. And then it struck me, they never spoke to the women. The women are the ones who are responsible for water. They're the ones who spend 2 to 3 hours a day collecting water, preparing it for bathing and drinking and cooking. And their voices were never heard. So I became all the more committed to spend my time hearing the voices of women. So to do that, I first had to gain trust. This was a struggle and took a lot of patience. See, I lived in town, which was about 6 blocks long and 2 blocks wide, and in cement homes. And all around me were mud homes, and then beyond that were the villages with mud homes. And so the women they'd never spoken to a white woman, let alone a foreigner. And then this word started coming around. Vergonia. Like, what is that? And it's shame. And it's that so many of the women, because of their poverty and being a woman, carried shame. And it was so hard to break into this. I wanted to say, hey, I'm a nice person. Will you be my friend? But one day, a woman walked down my pathway. She had confidence. She was carrying pots on her head. She had beautiful markings on her face and asked if I wanted to buy some pots. Of course, I said yes. She put the money I paid her in her pocket, gave me some change. I put it in my pocket, and it fell right through my dress. And we both had a giggle. And from that day on, I spent much of my time there at her homestead or the homestead of other women. Trust had been gained, the journey began. So from that time on, I got to participate. I would walk to the fields, I'd harvest maize, we'd pound the maize, we'd winnow it, we'd pound it some more and winnow it some more, and on to get flour made, the staple food. We'd have long walks to the river, we'd wash clothes. We would, we'd just sit there and we'd hear stories. I'd get to hear all kinds of stories sitting on those mats. I'd see the suffering of illness in the intense heat and a woman not being able to get to her chores and worried about her children. I saw women with their children sick and their grief when they passed, and the pain of not being able to afford a simple coffin or a shroud. I got to attend initiation ceremonies. I was there when the aunties shared with the young women who were getting married how to be a good wife. And we danced. We danced a lot, and we celebrated life, and we went on pikinikis. It was such a blessing. I got to be part of instead of observe. So 3 years were up, 100 wells were up and running, and the ceremonies took place. And as we were ready to leave, a big niggle in me was that there was nothing put into the plan or the budget to know if those wells, those pumps would be working in 2 weeks, let alone 2 years. And I left with many life lessons and deep, rich relationships. It might be strange when you're living in an area that is that poor to say the gift it gave was friendship and relationship, but it was the most empowering thing I think I could have done. I did more through those relationships than I had done in my career before. And that what happened is that vergonia, that shame, it dissolved. These women felt comfortable. They stood taller. They had this confidence that they could do more. They were worthy. And so the foundation of the giving circle is I see you, I hear you, I believe in you. And with that, what you get is yes, I can. And that's what you're going to be hearing in the stories of those who follow me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. Your story, it's amazing, and it just reminds me the second time we met, I reached a point where I felt like giving up to run an organization. And you looked at me direct in my eyes and said to me, Gloria, yes, you can. From that time, I've never forgotten how you inspired me. Look at me today, hosting an international event because of yes, you can. That motivated me to be where I am today. Your yes, you can, Priscilla, worked out so well. I'm so proud. I'm here because of the yes, you can. I have mentored hundreds of adolescent girls where we still say, and I'll repeat, yes, you can, just the way you told me all these years ago. Now, we are going to hear from Ratidzai, one of the beneficiaries of Global Sojourns. But before Ratidzai comes in, here is a little bit of an icebreaker, which will be a song. This is a song for GSGC with Yes You Can, Priscilla. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. GSGC family, let's let our little light shine. And that little light shined on our next storyteller. Her name is Ratidzai. Let's hear from Ratidzai with her transforming journey through mentorship. Ratidzai, over to you.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Greetings, everyone. I'm a 23-year-old girl from Kosana, a small community in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe. I know the mention of Victoria Falls may conjure images of a luxury place, breathtaking waterfalls. My life was far from that. My parents worked hard to put food on the table. Our neighborhood was simple. It was a place where struggle and resilience was part of our daily lives. At school, I learned alongside kids that seemed to have everything. They had fancy clothes, delicious food, high quality stationery, different types of gadgets that I didn't have. I couldn't help it but compare myself to them. And because of that, I had low self-esteem. It became worse when I went to secondary school. I used to sit at the back of the classroom, not say anything. Teachers would ask me questions. I would not answer, even when I knew the answers. So there was this other day, my teacher noticed that and asked me a question. I didn't know the answer, so I kept quiet. He kept on asking me to speak up, putting so much pressure on me. It was so much, and I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I just kept quiet. He started shouting at me, saying I'm stubborn, humiliating me in front of other kids. So the next day, I bunked his class. I went and hid in the washroom. When he found out, he punished me so bad. He hit me in front of other kids. He made me water the garden and the school flowers, saying bad words to me, that I'll never make it because I'm stubborn. And because of that, everything became worse. I felt worthless. I felt inadequate. I felt like I was less than other kids. Then in 2016, my friends joined a club called Girls Time Club. They used to come and tell me what's happening there, the topics they learned. So I became curious. I wanted to join. I was terrified at first. So on my first day, my mentor, Priscilla, told me to stand up and tell everyone about myself, my worst nightmare. I froze. My heart started beating so fast. I felt like running away. It was so much for me. She kept on repeating herself, telling me to stand up. She felt like that teacher. I didn't know what to do. I just stood up and said a few things. Then I sat down. I told myself, I'm never going back to that club again. So I bunked other club sessions. To my surprise, she came looking for me. But she didn't shout at me like that teacher. She didn't beat me. She sat down with me and explained to me the importance of being part of the club. She told me everything she's doing is trying to build my confidence. I remember there are words that she said to me. She said, Ratidzai, I'm doing this for you. I see so much potential in you. And those words changed everything in my life. I was emotional for a moment. It was my first time hearing someone say such words. So I thought I could give it a try. I went back to the club sessions and we learned a lot of things, different topics like confidence building, leadership, menstrual hygiene, different types of life skills like braiding hair, cooking, baking. And there was this other session when we learned on goal setting. And because we've been learning on confidence building, my confidence was now better. So on that session, everyone was given their piece of paper to write and stand up and present to everyone. When it was my turn, I stood up. I told other kids, I see myself wearing a graduation gown, walking across the stage. Even though in my family, no one has ever graduated, I told myself I'm going to make it. And it was that day when I saw potential in me. It was that day when I thought I would do it. And because my mentor always encouraged academic excellence, and she told us the power of education, I started improving at school. And because I had confidence, I would ask my teachers questions where I didn't understand. So I started improving academically. And in 2016, I wrote my O-level exams. I passed. My parents were shocked. How come? They never expected me to pass, but everyone was shocked. My mentors, everyone was happy for me. Then I proceeded and went to A-level, where I did my advanced. And I wrote exams. When it was time for results, I checked them. I announced my results during our club sessions. I stood up and told everyone I passed. My mentor froze. She screamed. She didn't believe it. She came, her tears running off her cheek. She came and gave me a tight hug. I could feel it. From that day, I got to understand that whatever I do is not just for me. There are people out there looking out for me. There are people who want the best in me. So I continued, and because I passed, I had to go to university. But my parents didn't afford. My parents told me, we don't have money. Maybe you can look for a job or do something. But I had that dream. I wanted to wear a graduation gown. I wanted to go to university. So I talked to my mentor. She told me, let's apply for scholarships. You did well, so you will get a scholarship. She helped me with applying and preparing for interviews. I got a 50% scholarship from the Indian University. I was happy. You know, my mentors were happy. They were proud of me. My parents were excited. They didn't believe it. But the happiness short-lived. It was just 50% scholarship. Where was I going to get the other 50%? I thought my dream had shattered. I talked to my mentor. And just to save the day, I got the other 50% scholarship. I was going to go to India. I was going to be on a plane for the first time, leaving Zimbabwe for the first time. It was a big thing. I then went to India and met kind people, loving people, different languages, different food. I started eating things like chapati, parathas, things that I never ate before. Seeing a beautiful university. Being in a different country has its own challenges. So it could be difficult for me to communicate with shopkeepers, maybe in shops or at school, trying to adjust to my lecturer's accent was a bit difficult. And the other challenges that I faced, for example, the scholarships that I got was tuition fee. So my parents were supposed to send me money for upkeep, things like accommodation, rent. So not all the months they would send. Sometimes they'll send money which wasn't enough, and I would not have enough food and transport. It could be difficult. But then I remembered there was a skill I learned at the Girls Time Club, braiding people's hair. So during the day, I would go to school, learn. After, I would braid people's hair and gain extra income, help my parents, pay for my bills, and I'd make a living with that. I got so much support from my family, my mentors, the GSGC family, people like Holly, Heidi. They were always there for me. They always told me they believe in me, and that kept me going. And throughout the journey, it became easier because I had support systems. Then this year, June 2024, the dream I had when I was 15 years old, wearing a graduation gown, walking across the stage, came alive. The girl from Kosana had graduated. God, it was so beautiful. I called my mentors. I was crying. I couldn't believe it. The challenges that I faced. At some point, I thought it was impossible, but it had come alive. It was so much for me. And I will never be more grateful than this. After that, I came back to Zimbabwe, and I'm currently an intern for GSGC. And I usually go to other clubs, girls clubs, boys club, inspire other people, inspire young people, share with them, tell them it's possible, tell them to dream big. I got to understand that success is not about the certificate you earn or the titles you hold, but it's about the impact you make. So I use whatever I learned to uplift others and give back to my community. Thank you.
Yeah. Are you feeling those hearts? That was so inspiring. Thank you, Ratidzai. And thank you to all the generous supporters and mentors who were part of her journey. Many of you are on this call with us, so we just take a moment to thank you. Stories like this show the difference we can all make to help bring Priscilla's vision to life. If you're feeling moved like I am, we invite you to join us in supporting GSGC's mission. Every contribution, big or small, helps us bring mentorship to more young people. Let's keep these transformations going. Now, it's our pleasure to introduce GSGC's new Executive Director, Tara Casey. Tara brings her incredible energy and commitment to GSGC. And tonight, or this morning, she'll tell us about an exciting new project that aims to capture and share GSGC's impact. Over to you, Tara.
Thank you, Lise. So welcome, everybody. I'm feeling extremely touched by Rati's story. I had the privilege of meeting Ratidzai for the first time about 2 months ago, and she's as incredible in person as she is on the screen. And Ratidzai is just one of many beneficiaries from the Giving Circle, and her story is so touching, thanks to the generosity of donors that are on this call and the incredible work of the mentors and the broader community. So it really does take a village, and those relationships that Priscilla's been speaking about are the ones that really cultivate these stories. So one of the things that I felt so inspired by when I first joined GSGC was these incredible stories. And it's one of these things that we've been wanting to cultivate within the organization, is a culture of storytelling. And what better way to capture stories than in books? And we feel these books would be an amazing inspiration to girls and boys that are in our clubs across Zimbabwe and Zambia. And so the purpose of this initiative is to launch a project based on a concept of another organization called the Book Dash, where they capture culturally appropriate books told by local people around stories that are relevant and appropriate for children and youth in communities that resonate with them, that inspire them. And it's called the Book Dash Project. So we'll be looking at mimicking a similar kind of project to Book Dash, but with a slight difference in that we'd love to actually have our storytellers write these stories. We're currently working on empowering our mentors with creative writing, with the creative writing course. And we have some incredible illustrators within our community too. We have Kangwa and Sunga, who are amazing artists, and the kids in their clubs who have already participated in illustrating some books you would have seen in recent newsletters. So we feel we have such potential to create our own stories. And what we'd ultimately like to do is have these stories spread out to all the clubs, and then additionally, perhaps sell them in local hotels and gift boutique stores, where they could be spread to an international audience, so that someone who comes to visit Vic Falls and wants to hear an inspiring story about a local young woman or man can read it, take it home to their family and friends, and for them to really understand the resilience and the strength and the heart that and the obstacles that everyone has to overcome to really make it in the world when they live in these communities. So I encourage you to support us with this initiative. We hope that it's the start of a long storytelling culture in the organization. We'd love to bring on professionals for the first year and ultimately empower our mentors and our team to be capturing and writing and publishing these stories themselves. So thank you very much. And thanks to all our amazing storytellers. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you, Tara. I'm really excited about this Book Dash project, and I can't wait to see one of the books soon. Now we have the pleasure of hearing from Racheal, a mentor at Believe Girls Foundation. Racheal's dedication and passion for mentoring youth is inspiring, and we're excited for you to hear her story. Over to you, Racheal.
I am the firstborn amongst two boys. So I am definitely the leader of the pack. My parents growing up always looked up to me to make sure that I was going to provide leadership for my brothers. My mom told me growing up, whatever decisions I make, all my family members would follow. So growing up, I was a star child. I was always bright, always number one in class, never failed a class. So the plan was to be an accountant. I wanted to be an accountant. And then lucky enough, when I was done with school, I was lucky enough to work with an NGO that allowed me to work as the admin and finance. So every time I did their admin, went to do their banking, I would see the women seated in the bank, and then they looked so beautiful in their outfits. And I imagined that one day that will be me. I'm going to work in a bank. I'm going to be an accountant. I'm going to be a bank teller. It's going to be amazing. So I had the plan. While working with the organization, I was offered a job because I was really, really good at my job. They offered me a permanent position. So my parents advised me and said, well, this is a great opportunity, but we advise you get an education, especially right now that I'm not doing so fine financially. I would want you to get an education. So that's how I had to leave the job. My father found a good college for me in Livingston, and then I started school. So starting school was a big sacrifice for my family. My father by then was working as a taxi driver. So whatever money he was making, he was putting it into my education. So I was excited. I was ready to take in the world. When I started my classes, I remember I was the class rep. I was excelling. My classes, I was doing so well. And I had some background education or peer education. So I was doing some peer education while in college. I was just doing so well. Everything was amazing. School was fine. My family was okay. Everything was amazing. And then I met an amazing guy while in college. I fell in love. I think everything at that point in my life was just beautiful. This man was so handsome. You know, he has swept me off my feet. I even forgot why I went to school at that point. So after all these beautiful things were happening in my life, something happened to me. Me of all people, I found out I was pregnant. Me, a girl with peer education, a girl who was a peer educator, a girl who's been teaching everyone how to use protection, a girl who's been advising people on the right way of doing things in life. I've been preaching abstinence, and then I fell pregnant. It's at that point that everything in my life stopped. Everything. First of all, my father had sacrificed so much for me. Now all the money that he had put in has gone to waste. How was I going to tell my family? First of all, I had disappointed myself. I disappointed my mom, knowing very well that my family had come from a history of having kids out of wedlock. So I was just like everyone else. I was one of them. I didn't even know how I was going to tell her. I remember after telling my mom I was pregnant, she was so mad. She was so disappointed. She packed my bags. She wanted me to go and stay in the rural area with my grandmother. And I was so scared. I wasn't used to fetching water from outside, so I didn't know how I was going to manage if I went there. But luckily enough, my father allowed me to stay. But though they allowed me to stay, they were really mad and they were not shy showing it. They were disappointed. I remember so well, I used to struggle with insomnia and my mom didn't understand. I doubt she even cared. I would only be able to sleep in the morning and she said, I don't care. You're going to make sure that my house is clean. You have to put this in order. You brought this upon yourself. We took you to school to get an education and you came back pregnant. So since you decided to get pregnant, you're going to make sure you pay for this. My friends' parents didn't want anything to do with me because I was a disappointment. They felt like if I was around their kids, I was going to influence them to fall pregnant. So I was literally alone. I had no friends. They were not allowed to come over. My family was so disappointed. I remember one day I came back home. I was 5 months pregnant and I found 6 elders sitting in the sitting room and they asked me to kneel down. And each one of them passed comments. They said horrible things. I remember one woman telling me, I will never make it. I'm just going to give birth to a child outside wedlock, and this child is not going to go anywhere in life. Mind you, the father of my child also didn't want anything to do with me. He had decided he was not ready to be a dad, and he was too young. And the father of my child was also coming from a background where they were very religious, and my child was going to be considered to be illegitimate. So basically, I was alone. No one wanted to help me. I had made a mistake. Society didn't want anything to do with me. I had no money. I had no college education. I was watching my friends going for graduations, buying their first cars. And for me, I was now thinking, how was I going to be a mom? So when my daughter was born, I had to figure out a plan. How was I going to take care of her? It's at that point I started looking for jobs because I had to feed her, I had to clothe her. Besides, all I had was myself. So I started looking for jobs. I job hopped. I worked as a sales executive. That didn't work out. I never got paid. Then later on, I worked for a chemical company. That didn't work out as well. Finally, I was lucky enough to get a job as a research assistant. While working as a research assistant, I would walk for hours and hours looking for clients. And I always admired my friends who used to move around in cars, had comfortable desk jobs. And me, I was in the sun every single day, 10 kilometers in a day. And I wasn't even making enough money because the money that I was making, I still had to provide for my daughter, take her to daycare, and pay for utilities back home. So it was at that point that I realized the only way for me to have a good life was to get an education. I met an amazing guy who I'm married to now. This lovely man is the one who encouraged me to apply for school. He said, the best thing that you can do for yourself, Racheal, is apply for school. When you apply for school, look for a job that allows you to work, at the same time allows you to study. So that's how I got a teaching college accepted me. I remember very well, I was accepted while I was at my grandmother's funeral. That's when the call came in and said, oh, Racheal, you've been accepted for the next intake. And I was so excited. After everything that I had gone through, I saw some light at the end of the tunnel. I remember starting, but that wasn't easy as well. I had to work every single day from 6 up to 13 hours. When I knock off, I had to rush to school and then find my lecturers. Sometimes they had already started teaching. I was always almost late. And then after knocking off, I had to rush and go home and be a mom. It was really complicated, but I knew what I wanted and I knew what I had gone through. So I persevered. And in 2017, I graduated and I was so excited. I never knew that could happen to me, but finally I had my own paper and now I could look for a job. Then luckily enough, I got to meet Gloria. So when I met Gloria, Gloria was looking for someone to work in admin and finance. I was so excited. I was able to find a job because of the paper that I had. And GSGC employed me through Gloria. And then I started working with the girls as a mentor. That was amazing. But sadly, after working with them for almost years, we taught them all the things, like all the life skills. We taught them how to be confident, you know, all the things that are there, how to be abstain, how to make sure they have goals. Sadly enough, after all that teaching, 2 girls fell pregnant. That was so sad because looking at where I had come from, the shame that I'd gone through, I knew my girls were going to go through hell. And I was so worried about them. I was worried about how society was going to reject them, how our society considers girls who fall pregnant out of wedlock as damaged goods. I was thinking about how are these girls going to manage? So me, I just had to use my experience and teach these girls and help them. And we persevered. And luckily enough, we are grateful to God. Our girls graduated this year. They wrote the grade 12s. Yes, they are mothers, but we are grateful that they got to write their exams. It's because of the pushing that we did with Gloria. It's because of the hard work that we did. We made sure that these girls did not give up. We looked at their lives, our stories. We used our stories to make sure that our girls also excelled. One of our girls is actually currently working and the other one just completed her grade 12. So we are hoping that she gets good results and then we help her go off to higher education. So my story has helped me to push education because of what I have gone through, because of how everyone put me down and told me I was never going to succeed. How society said after I had a child, I was never going to amount to anything. I pushed myself, and this year I also finally got my first degree because of the mentorship that we've been having in GSGC. I said, oh, wow, I need to push myself. And I know, watch this space, in the next couple of years, I'm definitely going to get that accounting degree. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Racheal. Thank you so much. Amazing stories from our mentors, our beneficiaries. So thank you so much, Racheal. First time to hear the story of Racheal, and I see why Racheal, she's a pusher. I see why Racheal, she's a pusher. She's always pushing for things to work out. I had the privilege to work with Racheal, and I'm inspired so much by her pushing herself to just get what she wants in life and seeing that the girls, they're achieving their goals. And that, for us, for me, and for everyone, it's something that is amazing, Racheal. You're an amazing person. You never gave up, and here you are today, right now, mentoring girls, even the girls who got pregnant, they have finished school and working. Racheal, you're an amazing person, and I appreciate you. As you can see, mentors like Racheal are truly a heart of GSGC. Supporting mentors like Racheal means we can empower more girls, more boys out there. And tonight, we can make that happen. It's very simple. The donation button, the donation link, it's in the chat. Let us bring these amazing stories to life. Our final storyteller for tonight is from Ndlela, who is passionate about empowering girls. Not only girls, but Ndlela is so passionate to empower the whole community. Ndlela, the floor is yours. Let's listen to Ndlela's story.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Thank you. I live close to one of the beautiful parks here in Zimbabwe, the Hwange National Park. I'm so excited to be sharing my story with you today. Growing up as a young boy, we're told stories about the wild. We're told how dangerous wildlife was. We're told how dangerous was going to the forest. It was so scary because all the stories that we heard about wildlife were so scary. We're told about how elephants trampled people to death. We're told about how a group of lions wiped and killed an entire cattle. It was really scary. However, I was so confused when I saw white people in safari vehicles and were told they were going to the national park to see the same animals that we are afraid of, to see the same elephants that gave us problems and we're scared of them. It was so confusing. I was 9 years old when me and my mother were traveling to my rural home. I was so excited because I was going home. I was going to meet my friends, my relatives. I was so excited. It was a 17-kilometer journey that we had to walk on foot. At 9 years, that didn't matter to me. We had to walk through a thick forest on a small path. As me and my mother were walking along that path, then suddenly in front of us, there was this big, large cloud ahead of us, very dark. I could hear my mother holding my hand. She said to me, "My son, it's an elephant." An elephant? Oh, Mom, I'm scared. What should we do? Should we run? Oh, I didn't know what to do. I tried running and my mother held me by my hand. I was so scared because the elephant was so close to us. I thought it will trample us. It was so scary. Miraculously, we managed to pass through. Instead of me being happy and excited that we managed to pass, I was so angry. I was so angry of what could have happened. I was so angry, what if the elephant had trampled us? Or worse, it had trampled my mother and left me alone. My anger for wildlife was renewed. I was so angry. I hated elephants. I hated any other animal. When I had an opportunity to move outside of Dete to go and do my schooling in a nearby town, I was so relieved because I was leaving Dete and its animal behind me. I went and did my education and forgot about wildlife and Dete. However, as fate will always have its way, in 2014, I found myself back in Dete. It was during this time where poaching was so high. People were poaching elephants. People were poaching any animal for bushmeat and commercial trading. We're using snares to kill elephants. They were using poisons to kill elephants. Then one day we're told that 104 elephants were poisoned to death through cyanide. And it was so severe that the park authority had to come to the community to ask people to help clean up the park. What the poachers do when they are poisoning the elephants, they poison the water holes where elephants come to drink water. I volunteered myself to be part of the cleaners, though I did not like animals. I had time with myself, so I just volunteered and said, no, let me just go and help. The moment we arrived at the water hole and I stepped out of the truck, what I saw broke my heart. Piles and piles of dead elephants around the water hole. It was so heartbreaking to see the lifeless bodies of elephants around the water hole. Not just elephants, hyenas, vultures, any animal that you can think of, they were dead. I was so saddened. It hit me so much that what we as local people can do to animals. The people who were involved in poaching were also killed, were shot and killed and arrested. After cleaning up the park, I said to myself, we need to find a solution. We cannot continue like this. As a community, we need to find a solution. It did not happen instantly. It took me some time. I had to talk to friends. I had to talk to people in the conservation sector around my area. And finally, in 2021, we got the solution. The solution that will promote a thriving community around wildlife. A solution that will promote peaceful human and wildlife coexistence. And I was so excited because finally we got the answer. The answer was to establish clubs. Then we formed Tikobane Boys and Girls Clubs, a mentorship programs that help young people around wildlife areas to appreciate and love wildlife. Many of them who have never seen an elephant, through the mentorship program, they have the opportunity to go on a safari vehicle and see wildlife at a relaxed environment. These young boys and girls have an opportunity to go to nearby lodges and hotels and look at what happens and see the job opportunities in the tourism sector, to see what the meaning of conservation and be inspired. We teach these girls and boys about stories, wonderful, amazing, and happy stories about wildlife. We teach them about the lifestyle of birds. We teach them about the lifestyle of wild dogs, most of which really relate to their everyday, day-to-day lives. Like a boy named Melikai. When Melikai joined our clubs in 2021, he was this young boy, very shy. Sometimes he did not come to the meetings. When we inquired about why he did not preach to the meetings, we're told he went bird hunting. Using their catapults as young boys, they go bird hunting and hunting small animals. It's their tradition. That's how they grow up. They are trained at an early age to kill birds They are trained to kill small animals so that they will grow up as hunters who will, when they are young people, start hunting, killing animals like what happened to the waterholes. Through the mentorship program that we did with Melikai, one day we visited a conservation area and Melikai was so moved. At Form 2, he said, when I finish school, I also want to protect wildlife. I also want to be a team of people who will protect wildlife. Melikaya is currently one of the youngest wildlife rangers who has dedicated his life into protecting wildlife in and around Hwange National Park. These are some of the inspiring stories that we have heard with our young boys and girls in our mentorship program. Our boys and girls are now realizing that they can take jobs in the tourism space and be chefs and be waiters and make a living instead of poaching. It's not merely Kaya alone. We have girls who have gained courage and are taking jobs that are mainly known for men, and they are saying, we want to be chefs. We want to be the guides. This is so heartwarming and inspiring to us to see our young boys and girls changing the narrative of being around wildlife. A few weeks back, we had no water in our community for almost 2 weeks because of some technical problems in our water system. So I have to go to a nearby water hole. I have to drive to a nearby water hole to get water for my family and for people around my community. I have this young boy, he's 2 years old, 2.5 years old. I love him so much. Wherever I go, I always make a point that I go with him. So we're driving on the forest, going to the water hole. And in front of us, we met a herd of elephants. And I stopped the car and said to my 2-year boy, my boy, those are elephants. The words that were said to my mother 25 years back, I say them to my boy. Instead of being angry and afraid like me, he was so excited. He said, look at them, Dad. They are so big. Can we go and touch them? He was so excited and happy to see those elephants. Unlike me, who was angry. We are changing the narrative of being around wildlife. We are changing the perspective of young people on conservation. When we got home, he was telling everybody about the elephant. Even if he could not pronounce the words of the name of the elephant, but he was telling them that something big, he was so excited. This is my story. But through our mentorship program, this can be anyone's story in and around national parks. As the Tikobane Boys and Girls Club, we work to change the narrative and perspective on wildlife. We seek to see our young boys appreciate and love wildlife. Thank you so much.
Sure. Another extremely moving and powerful story. Thank you, Ndlela. It's been a privilege working with you on the story, and it's every time it's just so moving. I'm sure many of our audience are really moved too. So I would like to open up the floor to our audience and ask if you have any questions. This is your time. This is your question and answer time where our storytellers are here. Do you have any questions for them? You could share your thoughts, comment on the stories you've heard tonight, something that's moved you, a question about their journey, a reflection you'd like to share. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So we'll keep this space open, respectful, heartfelt, but please ask the storytellers or comment. You can just, I don't know how we can do this. You can just raise your hand and then I can I'll call you out. Anyone has a story to, a comment or a question? And it's okay if we don't. There are loads of comments, I think, in the chat. Getting the chills. Jenny says, oh, we have a person who wants to say something. Heather.
Hi, I just want to thank all of the storytellers for sharing their stories and doing such a wonderful job. And to share that what I am struck by is how holistic the impact of the Global Sojourns Giving Circle is. And what I mean by that is that, you know, it's easy to assume that we're helping the girls and the boys, but really we're helping everybody who is associated with the organization. You know, it's helped Priscilla, who, you know, has founded it and has kept it going. It's helping the mentors and giving mentors more opportunities. It is, you know, it's helping to address the wildlife crisis. It's just, I don't know, it's remarkable to me. I was thinking during Racheal's story how, Racheal, you went through this very challenging, very tough time, which then ultimately allowed you to help your girls who were in a similar situation to have a different and better experience. So yeah, I just really wanted to say thank you and to say that I'm so happy to be a part of the circle.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much for those words. There are other comments coming through. Thank you for your comments. And we have some time, if any of the storytellers feel inspired to share about their journey thus far, finding your story, telling your story, what it was like tonight, this could be your time to share with everyone. And if there are any other questions or comments, please go ahead and share.
For me, I just feel this Priscilla, I don't know how to put the hand up. I just feel so blessed to be part of this community. And those of us who are closer into the work get to see this yes, I can happening. And it inspires me so much for the future. With all that's happening in the world, there's such a light shining here. And it's by people who believe in a better future and believe that they can help contribute to that. So I feel very blessed on that. And I'm really thankful for the kind of supporters that we have. I think you'd learn from my story, this kind of work takes time. And those who came along, especially in those early years, and we invested in that, we had patience. We came alongside because we knew for this to be sustainable, it had to be done. It had to be led by local people. And it's no longer a yes, I can, it's yes, I am, you know, and it's what gives me the hope for the future. And really, you don't get to see a lot of this out there. And I'm just so grateful for the entire community, and I'm inspired every day by the whole team. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Priscilla. Yes, I am. I love that. That's really, I love that. Beautiful. Anyone else feel inspired to share anything? We'll just give it another 2 minutes. Thanks for your hearts, Jennifer. I see them. Okay, well, I'm very impressed with the storytellers for keeping to their time. They're 10 minutes. Well done to you guys. And I think, Gloria, it's time for us to close up. What do you think?
Yes, it's time for us to say our bye-byes.
So thank you all for being here. It's been really such a joy to share this time together. We truly hope these stories of transformation, resilience, hope will inspire deeper connections and continue to warm your hearts.
Thank you everyone for joining us. If you feel moved by them, please continue to share the important work we do, those near to you and dear to your hearts. Together, we can bring even more stories to life and continue empowering the youths we serve. Thank you so much for your support. And yes, we can. Have a wonderful morning or evening. It's bye-bye from us.